why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Several, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
I am a passenger, and I ride and I ride. I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, they're bright in a hollow sky. You know it looks so good tonight. I am a passenger. I stay under glass. I look through my window so bright. I see the stars come out tonight. I see the bright and hollow sky. Oh, the city's red backsides, and everything looks good tonight. Say la 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 la. La 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 la. I get into the car, will be the passenger. Ride through the city at night. I see the city's ripped back sides. We'll see the bright and hollow sky. We'll see the stars that shine so bright. The sky was made for us tonight. Oh, the passenger, how he rides. Oh, the passenger, he rides and he rides. He looks through his window. What does he see? He sees the sign and hollow sky. He sees the stars come out tonight. He sees the city's ripped back sides. He sees the winding ocean drive. And everything was made for you and me. None of it was made for you and me. It just belongs to you and me. So let's take a ride and see what's mine. Sing la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Passenger, he rides and he rides. He sees things from under glass. He looks through his window side. He sees the things that he knows are his. He sees the bright and hollow sky. He sees the city asleep at night. He sees the stars are out tonight. All of it is yours and mine. All of it is yours and mine. So let's ride and ride and ride and ride. Sing la 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 la. La 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 la. La
guys. And this is the window. And you're and it's dated by an atomic clock at the Goldstone tracking station, which is on the tape.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight. We're not.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight. We're guys going on a flight. We're not.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get
I'm heading out. I appreciate it.
Get the hell out of the black house.
Well, I take your stuff and get the fuck out. Take your stuff and get the fuck out.
When the shadows in her uncle, I don't give a damn about all that shit. I don't give a damn about all that shit.
Back in my element. Crunch time in the final four. Come in and I trailblaze. I've been walking through the fire, so I gotta get everything.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
Well. We should be back again. And yeah, technical issue galore. Technical issue central tonight. Houston, we may have a problem. Let's go with that. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are in this absolutely insane world that we live in. Holy moly. Where do you even begin? At the start. Wherever that is. Where would the start be? How old is the planet? 1 million, 2 million, 3 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, 2000. Take your pick, right? Anybody's guess, let's face it. It's as old as it feels. We'll go with that, right? So we're back again. For how long? God only knows. God only knows. Yesterday, yeah, we seem to be getting a bit of issues on YouTube. Yeah, I think they're a bit unhappy, to be honest. And I don't know, we might have hit a nerve with the deep fake scenario. And what we'll do is we'll cover that to begin with because, well, there's not much to be said on it, to be fair. But it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Days fallen to one. Just me, probably. The other day, I put a video about Donald Trump. Now, when I first seen the video of Trump, I thought, nah, that's something not right. It can't be right. It's a bit strange. And it wasn't in HD. It was in like the lowest form of quality you could ever imagine, coming from the guy's got a gigantic channel, a production team, probably a makeup team, you name it. Yet the video comes out in the lowest form of quality. I mean, that it can't be by accident. It just can't be. And then not only that, when I watched it, it never sat right. It was similar to the Kate Middleton video when I thought, nah, come on, this is a bit dodgy, right? And of course, I put it through the analyzer and it detected, seemingly, deep fake tampering. So it deemed the video to be fake. Then So I put that together in a video and put it out. And then I basically started getting technical issues. I shouldn't laugh, but it's funny. So I was getting technical issues on my phone, technical issues on my laptop as well, which was interesting. Then later that afternoon, I thought, right, I'm going to put because I had been planning for a while now, and I did mention it before. I was going to put a video on the Bin Laden, one of his videos from 2001 October, because again I had this feeling, and it's probably one of the worst sort of AI deep fake videos going, and it was pretty obvious, to be honest. I'd watched it before and it never felt right. I watched it again and I thought, right, I'm going to put it through some of the tests, because the first thing I go with is my gut instinct. It was like, nah, it's not real, right? And people had said many times before, oh, the guy died. Bin Laden died in, I don't know, the late 90s or something like that. And seemingly, I've not seen it myself, but seemingly there was even a news report that came out. There was either a news article or a news video broadcast that came out and said, oh, Bin Laden's dead in the late 90s. And then probably it got wiped, right? And not to be seen again. So there's been a lot of things that pointed to Bin Laden not being here, even though they claimed he was here in fronting Al Qaeda, or is it the Taliban, or is it ISIS? Hard to keep up, right? Anyway, one of them terrorist organizations. What, the CIA? No, not them. Not them, the Talibanis. And so I put that together, and basically most, if not all of the deep fake testing that I'd done on Bin Laden's video, it came up pretty much conclusive that it was AI generated or CGI, which is, I guess it's not a surprise, to be honest. Maybe the guy did die. But after I put that video out, we continued to get issues, technical issues, which was interesting. And one of the first things I noticed, and this, do you know what? Since the channel started in probably, I think it was October 2019, the comments have never, ever been switched off. Not in its life up until the other day. And I mean, you would have to go and click the box to say, right, switch the comments off. And it was something I'd never done. I didn't really plan on doing it unless there was bots and spam and people just trying to basically sell you stuff. So it was something I'd never done. It had never been done. The box had never been clicked. You never had to unclick a box to get the comments on. Yet yesterday I made the Bin Laden video probably a couple of hours after the Donald Trump video and put it out, and then it seemed okay. There never seemed to be any issues to begin with. And then I went back on it. I went back onto the studio to have a look at it, and the comments were switched off. And I thought, that's a bit weird. It's never happened before. I've never put them off, and I certainly didn't put them off that time around. So what I did was I mean, I couldn't, it wasn't like comments are blocked on it. It had just been switched off. So I switched them back on. And then I thought, right, okay, maybe it's a technical glitch in the Matrix, right? So I thought, yeah, I can put it to one side for the time being, and I gave it time, switched them back on, and there was comments there. Not many, but there were comments. And then a couple of hours later, it had been switched off again. And I thought, well, that's interesting, right? I put them back on, and then again, they switched them off again. No explanation, no message to say, oh, by the way, we're switching them off. Nothing whatsoever. So I thought, right, okay, whatever, put them back on. And then this morning they were switched off again. And I thought, you know what? What's the point, right? Honestly. And I think I should be correct in thinking they've been switched off again. There you go. And I think there had been, I don't know, 4 or 5 comments on it. So I don't know, it's a strange one. It's not one that's ever happened before. So I'm unsure what to make of it. I guess the powers to be at YouTube are not happy about Bin Laden being exposed as a deep fake, or maybe it's Trump. They're not happy about being exposed as a deep fake. So I'm unsure. I could go on and switch them on again, but the bets would be that it would be switched off again. And it was interesting because I shared the video in a community post, and they even switched off the comments on that. And I thought, how the hell did they even do that? So I don't know what the crack is there, but it's a bit strange. I'm considering maybe asking the FOT police at YouTube, hey, what's the score here? What's going on, right? Why are you switching them off and I'm switching them on, and you're switching them off and I'm switching them on? What's the story? But I don't know if I should push it. Maybe it's better just being left alone, right? I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's an issue I've never had before. I'm unsure. Maybe the channel is on its last legs. Maybe they're considering just taking it down. I don't know. And it wouldn't surprise me. They've done it twice before. But I wouldn't rule out it coming back again. I mean, it's been back more than Jesus himself, so I wouldn't rule out the channel getting scrubbed, and then we made a mistake. Sorry, here, have it back. And what would that be? Third time lucky? So I don't know. I can't see it, to be honest. I don't see much in the way of community guidelines in exposing Donald Trump or Bin Laden or Kate Middleton as being a non-entity. So I don't know. But I did notice as well, I'll see if I can quickly share it. Because it's went a wee bit quiet on the Kate Middleton front. They've put her on charge for a while. I shouldn't laugh, right? She's recovering, of course. She's not well. And there's loads of conspiracy theories out there. Oh, she's not here anymore. And yeah, the media would have you believe that they're terrible, horrendous conspiracy theories. Like the fake moon landing conspiracy theory, right? Because yeah, that definitely happened. Sure. But I noticed there is let me see if I can share it, a tweet from a very royalist loving entity over on Twitter called, I think, Alex Marie. And it was a bit strange because what's happened, seemingly, is this entity here, Alex Marie, are we going with that? Love our working British royal family. Working British royal family? What the heck? That's a sentence I never thought I would ever say. Working British royal family. Oh, like the working class. Yeah, of course, right? Now, most people will know a wee bit about the royal family. I mean, it would be hard not to know stuff about them. They're everywhere you go. There's news about them, whether it be Kate, Andrew. I mean, he's kind of went a bit quiet as as well. The Queen, the what now King, who's now on the money. He's got his face on the money. Every one of them seems to be living a kind of celebrity entertainment life. But going by Alex Marie, it's a working life, right? They're workers, like me and you. Of course they are. Who am I, right? Now, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had a look at her page and I didn't get a good feeling about it. Maybe it's some sort of bot they've got that pretends to be a real person who supports the Queen and giving it all that God save the King nonsense, basically. But I think most people will know. I think when you turn 100 years of age, you get a correspondence from the King or the Queen to say, congratulations! Unbelievably, you reached a century in this world. I mean, a letter, you would deserve a statue, to be honest. It would be worthy of a statue, especially in this day and age, man. If I lived to 100, I mean, yeah, I'm wanting a medal, at least, for all the BS that you have to put up with, right? You know, when life can become awkward when you're not part of the sheeple herd, even to an extent where having a conversation with someone who's fast asleep is quite difficult. Just me. It may be just me, right? And even like the likes family members and what have you, you can be a bit like, no, you're a bit unsure what to say to them. And I've had that, even going back maybe to, I think probably round about the Scottish referendum. I mean, I really started to wake up from about 2010 onwards. I left school in, I think, 2004. And I was still fast asleep up until maybe 2008, 2009. And I reckon that's probably when I began to question quite a lot of stuff. And in particular, politics, when I got into that, I was a bit like, yeah, there's something not quite right when it comes to the political outlook. And the more I got involved with politics, the more I seen through it. And it's a circus, man. A complete circus. So especially after the referendum for Scottish independence, I definitely started to have my eyes open then. And I think once you start to question stuff, you go down different rabbit holes and you look into different stuff yourself and draw your own conclusion. Once you do your own research, you begin to see a bit like when you put on, I guess the best way to describe it would be putting on the glasses from They Live, the movie They Live. You put them on, and then, yeah, you see the world differently, right? Completely differently. So it's been many years now. I've kind of felt like I'm not. It's interesting because most of my life I've felt a wee bit like I don't fit in anywhere anyway. Just this random dude that used to basically join the coolest pack, if you like. Although I was into sport, in particular football. So I got a lot of friends through that and became quite popular through football. But even that's not the same anymore. And yeah, I still go and I still see a lot of the people that I went to football with, but it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. But it can be hard to fit in when you're a bit, as people might say, awakened. Not woke, but awakened. There's a there's a huge difference there, right, between woke and awakened. I mean, yeah, Jesus. Let's not get started on the wokerati. I'll be getting a strike. I'll be getting taken down for hate speech. I'm surprised I've not had a knock on the door yet. Maybe they're biding their time, right? Compiling a dossier of cases against me. You said this. You said that. You're going to jail. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. The way it's going in Scotland. I'm sure I've seen a story about a guy who it was a student who shot someone or people, and then his parents got jailed because they bought him the gun, I think. I'm sure I've seen that. I might have read it wrong, but they got 10 years in prison, the parents. I mentioned it to my wife, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, so they should buying him a gun. They should be, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that." And I was kind of thinking, well, it's a bit harsh, right? Giving them 10 year. I mean, community service maybe, but 10 years in prison for your son shooting somebody or a person or persons. I think there was a shooting earlier on, actually. Before I came on, I noticed. I think in America, I mean, there's probably a shooting every 10 minutes there, to be fair, but I shouldn't laugh at that. It's quite crazy. But I think there was multiple shootings. So maybe we're now entering the end of days, right? I know people like, yeah, nothing happened. The eclipse came and went, and it's all good in the hood. But yeah, time will tell. I wouldn't go counting my chickens yet, to be honest. And I shouldn't laugh at that, but I can't help but think back to 2020 and the whole, the world's going to end, Y2K, carry on. And of course, in everyone's mind, it was a bit like, I don't know, come 2020, 2000, the stroke of midnight, the world just explodes and it's finished. It's over. Or tsunamis appear out of nowhere and wipe everyone out, right? Everyone's kind of got their apocalyptic image in their mind, probably due to the movies that we've seen. So when you compare it to that, you think, well, it didn't end then, did it? The world never ended in the year 2000. But it kind of did, though. It kind of did when you, in hindsight, in 2020 vision, if we can call it that, it kind of did end. Just not the way that you imagined it would end. In a new era, we'll go with era. A new era began, right? And we headed into, well, the rest is history, to be honest. In about, what, a year of the year 2000. It all went a bit Pete Tong, and it all went a bit downhill. So, I have said it before, as much as it never burst into flames, it kind of did end. It kind of did. Just not in the way that you think. So in 10 years' time, maybe we'll look back and say, bloody hell, it ended again. Another era began. God only knows, right? But I did see the guy, the Higgs guy, the proton guy, the particle. What's his name again? Oh, is it William Higgs, maybe? Or am I just saying that because that's my name? He's got a first name, but his second name is Higgs. Was it the Higgs boson that he invented out of fucking thin air? Well, they're saying that he died on the Monday, and that's the day they seemingly fired up the CERN Hadrian Collider. So maybe he got put into it, and he's now himself particles. But what's interesting is, if you look at the video that I done on the historical text from the eclipse, what was it called, man? I can't even remember now. But it was a historical text from the, 1700s. And it talked about eclipses of previous eclipses up until that point. And there seemed to be an incident after each one. And either, Columbus conning the Jamaican people. I shouldn't laugh at that. Columbus being a con man. But there was other people who had seemingly died, like the next day from an eclipse, a king or a queen or a royal, if you like. And then I thought it was quite interesting that we had this eclipse, and then seemingly the next day, Mr. Higgs passed away. Although, to be fair, I think he was about fucking 100-year-old. 94, maybe. So, yeah, I thought I'd point that out. Because simply because they fired up CERN that very day, which you could hardly make up, but there you go. So when you turn 100, you get correspondence from the royal family, the queen or the king, whatever it may be. But seemingly this Alex Marie is above and beyond the norm. She or it is like a miracle, basically. Because she had written a letter to the palace And you don't get correspondence unless it's a really special occasion or you've hit the 100. But not when you're Alex Marie. Oh, no, 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 no. She got a letter from Kensington Palace. Hooray! How we cheered. Yeah. Interesting crown, right? Bit like a joker's hat. A jester's hat, maybe. Jesters are quite interesting when you look back on them in history. Of course, they play the clown, but they're actually really smart. You might hear my cat snoring. she's here snoring away at the moment. So this particular person, for some reason, got correspondence from the Princess of Wales. Huh. Kate Middleton. So completely out of the norm. This person, this random nobody who is the biggest royalist fan in the world, gets correspondence from Kate. As if to say, oh, by the way, Kate's still here, right? She's not gone. She's not dead. Don't be silly. She's okay. Look, she even sent a letter to somebody to prove it, that she's all right. And that's about all we've had from Kate since the Johnny 5 video, the short circuit video. Johnny 5 is alive video. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. Because what are they trying to say? Why have they went out their way to make it look like Kate sent a letter to this particular individual who is basically nobody? But of course, it would be the hardcorest of royalists. It's not just some normal person that got it. I mean, if it was like, I don't know, my next door neighbor or someone from down the road who got a letter of correspondence from Kate while she's being treated for cancer, I might think, well, bloody hell. Okay, maybe. But when it's this person in particular, and it's seemingly from Kate, it's a bit dodgy, right? And it's completely out of the blue, out of the norm, breaking royal tradition to say what exactly? Oh, Kate's still here. She's still alive and kicking, right? So what I'll do is I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out to see what we get. I mean, if the case is that Kate is unfortunate enough to have a particular illness and to be receiving either chemotherapy or radiotherapy, then she's going to lose her hair. Her hair will fall out. No two ways about it. So maybe in the next video, she's going to have a Asda bag on her head, like in Rob C. Nesbitt. In Rob C, when he gets chemotherapy, he can't afford a wig, so he puts a Safeway bag on his head. It's quite funny. If you've never seen it, you might want to check it out. But I mean, I know this. My son got treated chemotherapy, and not even the highest form of chemotherapy, and his hair fell out. And it really not annoyed. It broke my wife's heart. But I knew myself that his hair would grow back. I mean, he was ginger. You can't you can't get rid of ginger hair. And I thought it'll be all right. He'll pull through, and his hair will grow back like the fire from hell, and it did. But for that particular period of time, it was tough. It was really hard. It was testing, put it that way. So I kind of feel that we won't see. I would be very surprised if we got any video or photos from Kate. But in this kind of social media world that we're in, a lot of people do. They'll put photos of themselves in hospital up onto Twitter and Facebook and put things like and share, or I don't know, each like is a blessing and you know, stuff like that. But will that happen with Kate? I kind of doubt it, to be honest. And if they do put a photo out, I mean, a lot of people are going to be looking at it, and I say that in the way of they're going to be looking at it like, is it fake again? And going back 10 months, people would have said, don't be stupid, that's a conspiracy theory. What have you been smoking now? They don't fake photos and videos. They don't do Photoshop or anything like that. It's the royal family. They're amazing, spectacular, clean as a whistle. I'm laughing because it's the complete opposite, of course, right? I dread to imagine what they get up to. But the people are going to be scrutinizing it big time. And the more time goes on, the more people know what to look for. But going by some of their previous photoshopped images, it's not hard to spot, man. I mean, it was terrible. I'd have done a better job. So that in itself kind of raises questions. I mean, who done the Photoshop? Don't say Stevie Wonder done it, because honest to God, I think it might have been Stevie. He's been quite busy lately. A kid would have done a better job. So that's quite interesting. I mean, with all the power they've got, with all the might, with all the money, the gold, the jewels, they can't even make a decent Photoshop. And it was pretty blatant it would have been picked up on. It was really blatant. About as blatant as the Twin Towers coming down. It was Bin Laden! And actually, I'll be on Saturday. I'll be on Math Easy Solution. The stream might be up at the moment. I'm not sure. And yeah, I think we'll probably talk about deep fake stuff. What else did he say again? I can't remember. Basically, just covering some of the stuff that I've covered in the past. So deep fake, probably NASA, Apollo, all the rest of it, right? So that's the kind of deep fake update. I think we hit a nerve with maybe since Kate. And then, of course, Donald Trump. I mean, I'm sick of hearing about Donald Trump already. Honest to God, I am sick to death about hearing about Donald Trump. But there you go. I think we'll be hearing a lot more. I reckon he probably will get in again and make America great again. And then it'll be shit again. And then he'll come back again and make it great again. And it's comical. I mean, people fall for it. They always know what to say. When they, they've got like trigger words they'll say. And then people are like, he's one of us. He knows. Like, I don't know, chemtrails maybe. The deep state. They would only have to drop that into an interview and folk will be like, bloody hell, the guy knows he's one of us. Then when he gets into power, we'll call it that, when they get into office, nothing happens, right? The agenda gets pushed on more and more. Nothing ever changes, never for the better of the people. That's another term they'll use, for the people. We'll make it good for the people, better for the people. There's a good, it's in Family Guy. And Lois Griffin is going against another person for, I don't know, a political post or a council post. And the guy's beating her in a debate. And the dog Brian, is like, look, just say key words like 9/11, that was one. He was like, just say certain words that they're going to enjoy. And she just says 9/11 and they're all like, yay! They're all up on their feet applauding. And yeah, it's quite telling. I mean, it's so stupid. And it's funny, but it's true at the same time. And of course, it's a bit like The Simpsons as well. And it's not hard to see why. I mean, the Simpsons don't predict anything. What happens is the people who make it, they know. Because they're part of the club that plan what's going to happen. So there's no predicting. They're foreshadowing what they're going to do. And the guy Matt, I mean, if you don't know about him, then you might want to do a bit of research into him. He is part of the club. And the guy Seth, Drew McFarlane, he's part of the club as well. So they do know. Of course they know. They don't predict it. They know the blueprint. Basically. Right? So when people say to you, how did the Simpsons manage it? Well, yeah, they've got the paper, right? And I'd imagine the guy Matt, what's his name? Groening? I can never say his name. Who's probably a Jew as well, but that's neither here nor there, right? These people know the score. I think the guy Matt's way up there now, like a 33rd degree Mason, sitting at the top of the pyramid. So he'll know a lot. See, they've got foreknowledge. Basically, that's the bottom line. Hidden away in these lodges and temples are writings of what's to come, what might come, what you can do to control the masses. And that's basically how they... I mean, it's there in black and white. They claim that it's not even a claim. They tell you they have the knowledge of what's going to come, what will be happening in the future. And people have talked about that for decades now, since even before I was born. I mean, that paper I showed with the Illuminati, that's over 200-year-old, man. Over 200 years now. They've been fooling the people, conning them big time. And yet the majority of people can't even see it. Of course, they're distracted, right? They're too busy. Either that or they don't want to see it. They simply don't. So I thought I'd share that on Kate, who seemingly put a letter out to this particular individual. Let's jump on her page. Excuse me, Alex Marie. With 2 L's. Does that mean it's a female? Is that Princess Diana? I think it might be. Proper sort of 80s, early 90s haircut, that, right? I think everybody's mum had that hair. Everybody's mum in the 80s or 90s had a hairdo like that, right? Maybe me, just me. Well, not me, but my mum certainly did. I can remember. So quite an interesting character. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I stand with Kate, who is not a deep fake. A lot of people talked about the background. Yeah, I think the background was added to it, but I mean that's not a new thing when it comes to these entities and news broadcasts and what have you. So you had to kind of look more into it than just, oh, the background's fake, right? And the flowers are not moving, which, yeah, I guess if it's windy, they would be. But if it's not windy, then they wouldn't be moving anyway, right? In the same jumper for, what, a decade? A lot of people talked about the ring. And I've seen people saying, well, it disappeared. It was there, then it disappeared. And so I kind of looked into that a wee bit, and it did look like it disappeared, but it looked like it just was behind her knee. I never seen it literally disappear off her finger, then come back again. Unless maybe I missed it, but I did break it down quite a bit. It seemed to be just hidden behind her leg. And I did say originally in the first stream that I done that her fingers looked abnormally long. She was a good pianist. And someone said, well, she's quite tall though. But seemingly I think she's 5'9". So quite tall for a female, not your average height. But I mean, they still look really long. And there is, I looked at different photos, and there's not many pictures of her without high heels on. So with high heels, you're talking about 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches. And yet, she's 5'9". She's got what appeared to be 4-inch heels on, but she was still smaller than William and Harry. And William's 5'3", and Harry's about 6'1", 2". She would have been taller than William if she's 5'9" with 4-inch heels on. So when people say, "Oh, she's 5'9", I don't know about that. To be honest, I would question that. I really would. I mean, unless you get a measuring tape and run up to her and quickly measure. Even then, she'll be wearing heels probably. So I don't know. I would question it, to be honest. But she may well be. She's certainly quite tall in 4-inch heels, but then so would you be, I suppose, right? People pointed out the slats at the back. We mentioned them. And you can kind of see even by your eye. that they don't quite look the same. And then of course people said, well, the bench is at an angle though. And yeah, it may be at a slight angle, but not enough to do that, I wouldn't say. And why is it at an angle anyway? Why is it not just straight? And because I mean, she's like sitting straight. Would you even sit on a bench like that when you're recording a special message to put out to people? I'm unsure. So but I mean, not in the next few days or next week, but we will be getting back into Kate Middleton possibly in the next couple of weeks, because there's a bit more to be said on it. And I found this character quite interesting. This Alex Marie, who's probably going to try and sue me for hate crime now. He's a hatist. Look out for it. So, yeah. I don't know. What is that? That's an advert. She does a lot of retweeting, posting stuff about the Royals and the British Army. But that's about it. There's not much else there. There's no, like, I don't know, like a normal person who kind of, I mean, it's basically normal now for a person to be, oh, I had this for my dinner today. Look, here's a picture of my dinner. Here's a picture of me going to the cinema. There doesn't appear to be anything like that. It's basically royal family, British military, what have you. Let's quickly have a look at this.
He know it's very expensive to date me. Told him go put my name on that account because when
I mean, even in this video, she looks completely different. Because she is, I mean, she's stunning, right? She's, I mean, it's not the greatest of video there, but she is truly stunning. And she's very unique in her figure, her face in particular. Her smile in particular, her teeth, there you go. So, I mean, when you see something that doesn't look like her, you kind of pick up on it. Your gut instinct's a bit like, wait a minute, something's not right here. This is not her, right? So we will get back into that in the future. I wanted to do basically update you on that and the situation with the Bin Laden video. So comments got turned off. After I'm done tonight, I'll put them back on. And then I bet you any money they get switched off again. Why it's happening, I don't know. I mean, YouTube would probably say, oh, it's a glitch. It's a technical error. But I'm a bit suspicious of it. I mean, I've got every right to. After what they've done to me in the past, wrongfully terminated on 2 occasions, more strikes than the best American baseball team at the moment. Whatever happened to freedom of speech or freedom of thought? Did it even ever exist, man? Honestly. So I want to put up a couple of slides. I've still got it. Ah, the famous footprint. Yeah. How could we forget? Mm-hmm. Is it Buzz? Is it Neil? Do you know, I think there's, out of all the photos that got taken on the Apollo 11 mission, there's only one. I think there's only one of Neil Armstrong, seemingly. Even though they're like Barbie dolls. In particular, the photos, they're miniatures. It's like Action Man in a spacesuit. But seemingly, I think it might be the photo of Neil Armstrong coming off the Masonic ladder onto the moon. Or it's either that or he salutes the flag, and that's the only one. And there's an interview, we might get into it a wee bit, because there's a lot in that raises it raises an eyebrow. And sorry, Neil got asked the question, why is there only about one photo of you on the moon? And he brushed it off by saying, well, Buzz is more photogenic than me. Ha 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 ha. And he became to get quite good at that, to brush off any complicated question with a joke. It's the American way, right? It's the American way. Tough question, make a joke, and they'll forget about it. But you would have thought there would have been more. I mean, if you're on the moon, you'd want photos of you on the moon. And they both had cameras. And I mean, you can say all you want about photogenic. You were in a spacesuit, man. A spacesuit with a helmet on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe, yeah, he could have just took his helmet off and we could have got a proper photo. He could have just took it. Now, that would have been giving the game away, right? I thought they were on the moon. It's in a studio, of course. Shock horror. So let me put the comments on in the way. Ah, there we go. So quite a few people in the hood. Great stuff. No longer on the ball. Sounds like a football show. There's a show here called Off the Ball. No longer on the ball. The ball there. 666 million billion thousand miles per hour. That's how fast it's going, right? And you know you can trust NASA. They're the good guys, of course. Yeah, 1 foot. Has he only got one leg? Yeah. Yeah, where's the other one? It must be out of frame. Yeah, do you know when Bart Sibrel talked about how AI debunked it, and when they showed pictures of the astronaut and the module, they said, the AI said, it's a miniature. It's a miniature. It's not a real person. So what they've probably done here is got the Action Man, put the wee boot on him, and then planted one of his legs into the cement concrete powder. And we know it's concrete powder through the confession by the guy who was on his deathbed. And the confession's quite a strong one for me, because when the guy's dad confessed about it, he was dying. But it wasn't that he wanted to confess that they faked the moon landing. he was confessing that he killed a guy because they faked a moon landing. And I feel that there's a lot to that. It's quite profound. I don't think it's something you would make up, especially to your son. Oh, by the way, I killed a guy just before I popped my clogs. By the way, I'm a murderer. It's quite profound. And I mean, I can't prove that it's true, but I'd put a lot of weight on it. Like this footprint here, pushed into the concrete powder. And I can bet you any money, right? If you've done any work on construction sites and you've stood on a pile of concrete powder, it would look like that to a T. And I've seen it myself. That's what it does. It's undeniable. There's nothing else that does it like that. And it's quite funny in one of Neil Armstrong's interviews. He talks about how they're landing the lunar lander on the moon, and there's dust in the air. Then it's just gone completely, just like that. And he's honest to God, he's like, "Oh, I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was there, then it was gone." And it's like, well, how could that even be? If going by what they tell us the moon is like, that would be impossible. It would have been floating about for hours, probably. But seemingly it was just gone completely. And it's interesting as well because there's kind of conflicted sort of stories. Because you've got Buzz saying, "Oh, it was the dust was there, kicking up dust on the recording. Oh, we're kicking up dust." But then in other interviews, they said, "Oh, we switched off the engine before we landed, so that all got switched off. Hence, there was seemingly no crater there. But yet, when it's landing in the video, the official NASA video, you see all this dust round about." And it's like, well, make up your mind, right? What is it? And I mean, how can the dust just kick up and into the air and then float away completely? And none of it landed on the foot pads of the lunar lander, which is quite funny. And we are meant to buy it, of course. That's one of the module coming back from the moon. And you know, when people first, well, when I first heard about the possibility of this, the lander, certain images being models and miniatures, I thought, yeah, that is what it is. No two ways about it. And then when you look at it now, with that in mind, it's like, yeah, it's a model, right? It's a wee model. So basically what you've got is a model in a background. So when it comes to, because people have asked me in the past, can you put these pictures into like a CGI, similar to the deep fake stuff? Can you analyze it to see if it's fake? To an extent you could, depending on what software you can use, but to an extent you can't, because if you ran this through, it would come up as a real image, because it is a real image, but it's an image of a model with a fake background. Not even a fake background, a background. So it would declare it as being real. You would need it would be complicated software, and you probably could get it, but it could determine the actual size of this particular instrument, and it would probably be no bigger than a doll's house. So it wouldn't be the capsule they talk of. And I mean, it even looks like a fake background. Here's one you see quite a lot. And it's like, here's what we made earlier on Blue Peter. It's the lunar lander. Hooray! You know, the one that Armstrong ejected from. Not that actual one, but similar to that. And some of you might recall, there was 5 training lunar landers that they made for people, the astronauts, to train in. 3 of them crashed and blew up. On one occasion, nearly killing Neil Armstrong, but he ejected. And in the official report, it said, he bit his tongue, and that was it. And I thought, was that him getting a warning? Was that him being warned? Look, you're pushing it, boy. You don't want another Apollo 1. You don't want to be an Ed White or a Gus Grissom. So after he ejected, he bit his tongue and he said no more. And there was one interview an astronaut done, and he was talking about Neil Armstrong. And it was the day after Armstrong had ejected from the training lander, which looked like an absolute death trap, by the way. A complete death trap. And he was saying that he heard the night before that Armstrong had ejected and pretty much just avoided death. And he was, the next day, they were at some, I don't know, some test or whatever it may be, exam, and Armstrong was there. And he was sitting next to Neil Armstrong, and he said, "Oh, I heard you had to eject the other day." And Armstrong was like, "Oh, yeah, I did." And, and that was it. He said he was like as cool as a cucumber, like nothing even happened. It didn't faze him in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of people, when it comes to, I guess, the vast majority of sheeple, they're under this impression that Neil Armstrong was a normal guy off the street. Like he had no military background. Yet he was fighting in the Korean War. He was a Navy pilot and most definitely in the military. But yet they paint this picture. Oh, he was a normal average Joe who was a civilian, right? How was he a civilian? He wasn't a civilian. If he was classed as a civilian because he was no longer in the Navy when he went to NASA, then they were all civilians then, because they had all left their post to join NASA. But they don't paint them all like that. They only paint Neil as being, oh, he's your average guy from the block, from the street. Yet he went into the military at a very young age and even fought in the Korean War. So how is that a civilian? How many civilians have done that? Civilians don't do that. So he was military, lock, stock, and barrel. No two ways about it. And in the oral history interview that he done, it was interesting because he talked about how the Gemini program, the guy Deke Slayton got Neil Armstrong, your average Joe off the street, to write up a schedule of basically who would be on, who would be off, in what program, what team would be where and when. This big schedule that sounded quite complicated. So this average Joe, just in the door at NASA, writes up a schedule for the Gemini program. Deke's, what's his name? Is it Slayton? The guy Deke gets Armstrong to write it. I mean, how does that happen? Why did Deke Slayton or the Von Braun and the powers that be, they surely should have been the ones who drew up a schedule. But Armstrong's claim is he done it. And he also claims in the same interview that Deke Slayton came to him and said, right, you're going to be Apollo 11. And I want you to pick the crew. So Armstrong basically picked who was going to be going with him on the Hollywood mission of Apollo 11. Yet the claim in the mainstream is that they never knew until very last minute. But by the looks of it, it was known from, at least in Armstrong and Deke's view, it was known early on who it was going to be. And they probably knew that it was going to be Neil that was going to be the guy who seemingly was first to walk on the moon, because there was a big deal about who was going to be first. And I think that annoyed Buzz Aldrin a wee bit. Because the claim was also, why does a civilian get to be first? Surely it should be military men, but he was a military man. I mean, there's nothing not military about the guy. So I find it interesting how they paint Neil as being an average Joe off the street, like a joiner. When he clearly was, he clearly was not. He was lock, stock and barrel military. And this one, in this picture as well, I mean, that's another model, right? That's got to be a model. You can see the sellotape on it. You can see it clear as day. And this is an interesting one because you can see the like pointers hanging off the feet. Although one appears to be missing, or am I just not seeing that because that something's in the way? Yeah, one of them appears to be missing. How can that be? How can that be? There's meant to be 4. There's only 3. This was like the sensors on the pad they've got. Can I zoom into that? We might get it on Flickr. Why is there one missing? Must have broke off. But they're interesting. Because, I mean, seemingly the module lands side on, but you don't appear to see that in the video. There's no like jolting that way, then boom that way, because you landed side on. No damage to the pads or nothing. Yet it landed side on. And I reckon even if it landed side on, these pointers or aerials that hung off the feet, they would have still been pushed into the ground. They would have either snapped off or been pushed into the ground. But they're not. They're lying flat at the side. of the lunar lander. In that image, that's one that got deemed a miniature. So basically what you've got is Action Man on a set, like Beetlejuice set. Do you know in the movie Beetlejuice, when they've got the model of the city, pretty much like that. I think that might be the one of Neo, but I could be wrong. And yeah, it kind of screams miniature. It really does. When that's in your mind, you can't get it out of your mind. It does not look real. It looks like an Action Man setup. It's a pity I can't zoom into that. I mean, what they try and say is they were pretty much weightless, yet you've got all these deep footprints in a weightless environment. How does that happen? How does that happen? What is it, 1/3 or some nonsense? Yet you've got all these footprints sunk in the ground, but they're weightless. Next to the weight of a feather, if you like. Quite comical. And that again, that's another photo that says miniature model, a Blue Peter model, and the flag looks like it's a flag you would get on a cake in the background there. This teeny wee flag on a toothpick, then this wee model. I mean, they were at the time, they were getting really good at making these models, making them look real. And I mean, as movies went on, CGI and stuff took over. But before that, they did exactly this. And they did do it in Apollo 13. They used a lot of models and miniatures and had to make them. And I've shared that before because it was interesting. The main miniature model maker for Apollo 13, there's an interview of him saying, "Oh, I was into the whole Apollo program, so it interested him, and he was into miniature making, so it was a perfect job for him. So what he needed to do was get in touch with NASA, and they were going to help him out in making models, right? And he phones up the head guy at NASA that he's going to be dealing with, and would you Adam and Eve it, he's also a model maker and big into making models. I mean, what a coincidence, right? Like the head guy at NASA, basically. And I thought, fuck it. I mean, that's telling that. Honestly, such a dead giveaway to say that, oh yeah, he's big in making models. Of course he is. They've been doing it for years. For years, man. And it's all CGI and deep fake now. But 60s, 70s, it was model making. Quite telling. I don't know if it's just me, but any of these pictures I see, I can always feel it's a model that you're looking at. And this one's a cracker as well. You know, the best, this is where they're kind of docking together. But in Apollo 17, there's a docking video, and like the whole back end of the module is falling off. Honest to God. And it's even the astronaut, one of the astronauts is like, oh, there appears to be damage. Yeah, from what? From nothing? Nothing hit it. There's no wind. There's no anything like that. But it's like the cardboard's been blown off it. or has fell away from it. And he was like, oh, yeah, there is damage, but it's okay. Nothing to worry about, right? I mean, it was comical. You could see the tape, like, peeling off it. And it was like it had been dropped, basically. And they forgot to repair it. And they just brushed it off as nothing whatsoever. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. But it's a cracker, right? If you get a chance, look up the docking of Apollo 17 and you'll see it. It's, I mean, it's comical how people can buy it. There you've got the half a blue marble in the background. Seemingly that's Earth, right? This fragile place they talk about. We fragile Earth. That's what they were always calling it. It's very fragile. Now, what's interesting is, I mean, from that view, you'd be seeing the whole Earth, basically. But the moon appears to be, blocking half of it out? So half's dark, half of it is in dark, and half of it is lit up. Yet, going by the science we get, the whole Earth is never dark. The atmosphere has a glow to it. You would see it in whole, even where it's night, because the atmosphere itself glows in the dark. So someone must have forgot that, right? Whoops, we forgot about that. They couldn't even add this fake glow to it. It's completely pitch black. And in the oral history with Neil Armstrong, he gets asked the question, is it true you can see the Great Wall of China from the moon? And he's basically like, no. You can't. He was like, no, you can't. You don't see any man-made features from the moon. He said he could see Greenland and possibly a lake. And as far as Neil knew, he said he's never heard of anybody that could see the Great Wall of China, not only from the moon, but even in low Earth orbit. That's the words of Neil Armstrong. Seemingly you can't see it. Yet people would have you believe that you can see the Great Wall of China from the moon. But going by Neil Armstrong, the first guy to walk on the moon, you can't even see it from Earth orbit. So which one is it, right? Which one is it exactly? Answers on a postcard. Another miniature. I think that might be... Yeah, I think that's Buzz Aldrin. And if you look at the front of that, that's the aerial pointers that I was talking about on the bottom of the footpad. It's placed along the ground. Oh, man. So, I mean, it's comical. Honestly. Because even if it's side on, they weren't fixed. They were like hanging. So even if it landed side on, they would have either broken, went into the ground, or just simply went into the ground. You know how the moon is covered in thick dust? But yet, this pointer here is simply out of the side of the footpad, like it got placed there. No damage, nothing whatsoever. There's not even a trail or a track, like it's dragged into the ground when it landed. It's simply just placed. I mean, it's comical. Once you start breaking it all down and comparing the interviews they've done with the timeline itself, none of it makes any sense. None of it. And quite a famous image of that one. But you can see the foot, you can see the aerial there. I mean, it doesn't even, what they've done is, I don't know if you can see it, but they've placed a bit of dirt on top of it. Fucking hell. Honest to God. It's not even in the ground or anything. And they've put some concrete soil on top of it. I'm not sure. You might have to zoom in. It's comical, honestly. So there's nothing on the footpad, not a drop of dust. Yeah, on this antenna, they must have thought, oh, we better put a wee bit of dust on there. And it even looks like if you zoom right in, they've sort of patted it down. So it doesn't fall off, right? I mean, why would you have to do that? Why would you have to pat it down so it stays there? Oh man, that is so funny. I mean, it's a dead giveaway. It really is a dead giveaway, that. Honestly. I never even noticed that before, but now I can see it. The soil they've put on top of it. And not even the whole thing. Some of it must have fell off. But they covered some of it and they've patted it down clearly. It's not occurred naturally. Quite comical. And they think they got away with it. So there's an image of the lander there. It's in a museum now. You can go and see it. Probably cost you $33 to get in. Knowing NASA. That's how much it cost to get into the Twin Towers Museum. And the guy Matt looked it up at Mafizi Solution. $33 to get into the Twin Towers Museum. Amazing, right? I mean, when you look at that hatch, I don't even think I could fit through that, to be honest. You'd have to pay me a lot of money to go anywhere near that. Never mind being flown up in a rocket, launched into space, and then dropped into the ocean? And hopefully picked up by a helicopter? Quite interesting as well. Armstrong said he could hear the helicopter when the chutes opened, before the chutes opened, parachute. And it's like, I don't think the helicopter would have been that close. Seemingly it was about 2 miles away at the time. It was called Swim 1. There was Swim 2, which was with the ship that picked them up, and they were 13 miles away. And I know a Chinook helicopter, which is quite loud. The closest you can hear that, or the furthest away, is about 2 miles. Yet Armstrong could hear it. Locked in this capsule, by the way. Probably if you were locked in it, you wouldn't hear anything. Let's face it. But oh no, he could hear the helicopter when the chutes opened. I mean, it would be a bit risky having the helicopter that close as the module's coming to land, right? I find that quite interesting. It was the same way when he landed the Gemini. He said he could hear the aeroplane. I thought these were well insulated. Maybe not. They must not be, right? They must not be. Now, what does that look like? What does that remind you of? This is like the bottom pad of the module that shoots them back to Earth, basically. And they said it got found in 2013 at the bottom of the ocean. The bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. They found it. At the very bottom. I mean, I found that quite comical, but it reminded me of something. I don't know if it reminded me of, you know that, you know the at CERN there's a statue. What is it? The Shiva statue. It reminded me a wee bit of that, or some sort of Masonic circular logo. But I found it a bit strange. And they said it was bent due to when it hit the water, which I thought was, yeah, interesting. And then they found it in 2013, seemingly. Oh, there it goes! Quick, get it! I mean, the chance, what would be the chance, right? How many years would that be then? It lay at the bottom of the ocean. It would have been covered, man. It would have been gone. It simply wouldn't have been visible, I don't think. And how deep is the Atlantic Ocean? Can you even get to the bottom of it? Going by the weight of this, it would have sunk pretty far. It would have sunk right all the way down, man. And it would have been covered after so many years. And God only knows what. So I find it interesting that it even got found. Yeah, there it goes. And yeah, it looks a bit strange. Not sure what to make of it. Do I believe it was part of the module? Probably not. We didn't buy anything these guys said, to be fair. So they got picked up and it was all good in the hood, right? Yay! Light the cigars! It was all the rage then. Smoking the cigars, the big pink cigars. And of course they went into quarantine. Not COVID quarantine. Moon quarantine. In case they had moon scabies or moon crabs, right? They had to go into quarantine. Which was a whole comedy show itself, to be fair. I mean, if you can't laugh at this, you'll probably cry. And I don't even think it was 2 days, maybe 2 days quarantine in a weird chrome caravan where they sat and played cards and I don't know, probably smoked crack. And I think it was downhill from there on for Buzz Aldrin. Collins and Armstrong seemed to fare a wee bit better, but it destroyed Buzz, man. I don't know what they've done to him today because I think he might just be insane. To be honest, he's past caring now. He's just completely insane. Either that or they've swapped him around. Like in what's the show called? Inside Job. They've got a guy who just acts to be Buzz Aldrin. He's been acting Buzz Aldrin for 50 years. The real Buzz Aldrin's, I don't know. He was, well, in the program, he was on the moon. So maybe they left Buzz on the moon. But I mean, it's quite comical, this, and it was one of the most telling things for me in one of the next slides that I'm going to show you. It was like, wow. I kind of couldn't believe it even got said, to be honest. And you know when Nixon was talking to them, is it Nixon? I think it might be. I can't link a video just now, but if you simply look up Buzz Aldrin interview from 1970s, you'll see an interview he done with the BBC. And the guy asks him, "Oh, would you do it again?" And he's like, long pause. Yeah, I would do it again. And he's like, "What? Even though it nearly killed you?" I shouldn't laugh. And he's like, yeah, even though it nearly killed me, because he went into a mad state of depression, even though he should have been one of the happiest people in the world to walk on land that's not on Earth. But the guy just went downhill rapid into a deep, deep state of depression. Because, of course, in reality, it was the lie that was making him depressed. It wasn't the fame or the fortune. It was the fact he had this gigantic lie eating up his soul inside out. So he hit the drink and became a bit of an alcoholic, to a point where he got hospitalized, not by the drink, by the people round about him. They signed him into an insane asylum. He talks about that as well. I shouldn't laugh, but he had to get signed into hospital because he had lost the fucking plot. And he had to get reevaluated and probably injected with all sorts of weird shit to keep him going, keep him sane, if we can call it that. But it really did hit him. He struggled with it big time. Neil, not so much. And Collins, he seemed to get away with quite a lot because he always was a bit like, well, I was in the module. They were on the moon. Ask them. What would I know? And I mean, Collins is a whole stream on his own, to be honest. When he done a Gemini mission, he lost a camera, Hasselblad camera. Just lost it completely. Wah, wah, wah. But when he was circling the moon and Neil and Buzz were walking on the moon, he lost it again. Fucking hell. He lost it again in a tiny wee capsule, by the way. He lost the camera. That's the claim. And they found it when they got back to planet Earth, let's say. So on two important occasions, Mike Collins lost the Hasselblad camera. I mean, you could hardly make it up. It's very fitting, right? In a tiny wee capsule, he lost the camera. I mean, let's say even he did lose the camera, right? Seemingly on board, they had I think they called it a 6-inch telescope. So like a wee pirate's telescope for looking at stars in case there was a failure with computers and they had to navigate through looking at stars. So you've lost the camera, you're circling the moon, there's a wee telescope there, there's a window. Fuck, you're going to be looking out the window with a telescope, right? I mean, surely to God. What else is he going to... In fact, let's not go there. He was the first person to have a space wank, basically. The first masturbator in outside Earth orbit, Michael Collins. The first wanker, put it that way. Maybe that's what he was doing. Buzz and Neil get back. Why is it all sticky in here? Oh, never mind that. I lost the camera. Yeah, okay. So he lost the camera and there's a wee telescope. Yeah, he doesn't look out the window. He doesn't use the telescope. He can't take any photos. And all he is saying back to Houston is, what does the TV picture look like? And they're like, oh, it's really good, when it was terrible. It was bloody horrendous. And they're like, yeah, it's great, Mike. And he's like, oh, it's a pity I can't see it, though. No, but you're hovering the fucking moon. You've got a telescope floating about. And you should have a camera. And he still mentions in the interview they all done when they got back that he never seen any stars and he never looked at any stars. I mean, what? surely to God. I mean, even the fact that if the computers did fail, surely that would be in the back of your mind. Like, it's a possibility, right? So let's navigate to an extent where I know where these constellations are. So, right, get the telescope out, open it up, have a look out the window. Oh, yeah, there's Taurus. Oh, yeah, there's the plough, blah, blah, blah. I mean, what was he fucking doing? Again, let's probably not go there, right? Let's not go there. But it's none of it makes any sense. But when they got back and they got into quarantine and of course the phone call as well from Earth to the moon on a landline telephone. Wait, what? A landline telephone. Huh, okay. Sure. Why not? It's NASA, right? Of course, yeah, let's go with that. But there was, and I kind of got the feeling they silenced them for quite a while because they really had to watch what they were saying. And I think the first interview they done, it was quite telling. They were struggling. They were struggling. And I mean, when it comes to telling lies, you can lie with words till your heart's content. Lying with your body, that's another story. You would have to be like I mean, the body can't lie. It simply can't. It naturally cannot lie. And it's a dead giveaway. And it called them out many, many times. I mean, there was one point in the interview when they got back that Michael Collins nearly left the stage, like practically stood up and was away. His body did not want to be there. And when you look at body language, that was a clear indication that he was not comfortable at all. The constant fidgeting, the looking down, the looking there, looking left. The constant confusion with Neil Armstrong saying, "Yeah, well, it's like, mate, come on. Who are you trying to kid here, right?" So there's a video of this when they're talking and they're in quarantine and Nixon's speaking to them. And towards the end of it, I've got the transcript, the script. And I pointed this out before. I made a video on it. But I pointed it out a couple of years ago. And as far as I know, I was the first person to point it out. So it's my claim to fame. I can die happy now. Hooray! But it was so telling because before I heard this conversation, I was adamant that when it comes to weather modification and weather manipulation, NASA are the main people behind it, not a space agency. I was adamant after the documentation that I had seen previously. I was adamant. Then when I heard Armstrong say this, I thought, many a truth said in jest. Many a truth, right? So basically Nixon's asking them about a baseball game. This is when they're in the quarantine gypsy caravan. And he's saying, look, you never got to see the game. Well, no, because they were on the fucking moon, right? Sure, wink, wink. Oh, and he gave them the 666 hand signal as well, like, yay. And they all done it back, yay. We done it. They're buying it. Stupid sheeple, they believe it, right? They're fucking buying it, man. So Armstrong's like, oh yeah, we're sorry we missed that game. And Nixon's like, yes, well, what, you knew that too? Because the game had been called off or disrupted due to bad weather. So Nixon's like, yes, well, you knew that too, because seemingly they were getting information from Houston about what was going on Earth. Like you would give a fuck. You're on the moon, man. You'd be doing your own. You wouldn't even want to care what was going on back home. You would just be buzzing out of your brain on another planet, man, basically. Football games and baseball games would not cross your mind. I mean, you'd either be happy to be there or you'd be shitting yourself in case something went wrong and you never got back home. Yet they were being fed, seemingly, all the latest news, even on the sport, even to the point where some baseball game got affected by rain. So in the interview or the back and forth, Nixon says, well, yes, well, you knew that too. And Armstrong says, yeah, we heard that. And Nixon says, yeah, the rain. Then Armstrong said, the rain, well, we haven't been able to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's job. That's what he said. He never said challenge, so I don't know why the transcript says that. What he said was to a T, with a big Cheshire Cat grin on his face. We haven't been able to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's job. So I wonder how they're getting on with tomorrow's job, right? Not a space agency. And of course, when Armstrong said that, Nixon thought, fuck. Shh, don't say that, basically. He was like, right, stumbling a bit. So, right, well, I can only summarize it because I don't want to hold you now. So he cut it dead. He cut it dead when Armstrong said that. And Armstrong probably got a bit of a slap on the wrist, right? Because he gave the game away. And the doting sheeple would say, oh, it was just a joke. Really? I don't think it was. The documentation when it comes to weather manipulation and weather control experiments involving NASA, there's piles of them. Going back even before these guys seemingly went to the moon. So they were already working on tomorrow's job. Can they do it today? Probably. I wouldn't rule it out. Going by the way technology is now, I don't think they can do it as well as they would like to. But I think they're on the road to manipulating the weather, lock, stock, and barrel. And what's the old saying? Control the weather, control the people, right? I mean, it does play a big part in our world, basically. Here's an interesting thing, right, that I noticed the other day. It kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure what to make of it. Kind of caught me off guard. Wait a second. I need to take my phone off charge. There we go. Why is it not working? No Wi-Fi. There we go. We're sorted. So we are still going. Great stuff. It's good to know that I'm not talking to myself. Quite a few we've got on Twitter, and we're on YouTube as well. So we're across the 2 platforms tonight. And yeah, this kind of caught my eye. And like I was saying there, I'm not sure what to make of it because I had to double check the dates, right? So Apollo 11 launched from Cape Kennedy on July 16th, what was that? A ghost. On July 16th, 1969. So the 16th of July, right? Then it splashed down on July 24th, 1969. Right. So remember, 16th of July is when it left. And it got back on the 24th of July. Now, I'm away to play a video of the return of the module to Splashdown, which would have been on the 24th of July. Now, see if you notice anything in particular at the very beginning. Here it goes. It's only a short video. I don't think there is any audio, so probably just can speak over it, actually. I've caught something at the very beginning. And, I mean, even that, it looks fake, right? What does it look like? I don't even know how to explain what it looks like. It's like one of them windproof lighters that you get, or like a small blowtorch that you would use for in the kitchen, basically. You know, for caramelizing or caramelization. Would that be the word? If not, it is now, right? But seemingly what's happening here is Buzz Aldrin is recording re-entry. So clearly very busy at the time, right? But it's nothing like you would imagine it would be. Not that it should be, but it just in your mind it's like, nah, it's not though, is it? And I think what you get is a period of a windproof lighter being blown, and then you get, I think they have a blackout, which is interesting. There's like a blackout period between entry and chutes deployed. So like the perfect time to fly the plane in, push the module out, open the chutes, voila, back from the moon. And I mean, look at that as well. What's that meant to be? Heat around the module. I mean, is it still going? There was heat, then there was no heat. Now there is heat. I think the lighter ran out of gas at some point. Shit, we ran out of gas. Quickly fill it up. Shh. Right, put it back on. So, quite comical. So we'll take that video away because although it's funny in itself, I think that might be them now deploying. Oh, you've got a few sparks. They've added a sparkler. Yeah, just get a windproof lighter and a sparkler. A re-entry. There you go. Yeah, no audio, no noise, right? No, we didn't make any noise. So did anybody catch anything at the very beginning there? In particular, into reference of a date. Let me jump in the comments. Nobody. Nobody was watching. Nobody's seen it, right? There was a date at the very start of the video, like a recording date. Yep, Penny got it. The penny dropped. So what date did they launch? July 16th. The splashdown was July 24th. Yet in this video of the return to Earth, the date is the 11th of July, 1969. How can that be? It was recorded by Buzz Aldrin. Seemingly by Buzz Aldrin in the module. I mean, it's not even close to the date they were there. It's not even close to the, like a day before launch day, which was the 16th of July. Splashdown was the 24th, yet the video got recorded on the 11th of July. How does that happen? They must have forgot to edit that out. Whoops. I guess they'll have a reason for it, right? And the photographer doesn't look like Buzz Aldrin's name. I mean, even if it was like in between dates, say, I don't know, the 19th or the 20th of July, you'd think, yeah, well, maybe it wasn't far away. But for it to be recorded days before they even launched Apollo 11, I find that weird. Why were they even recording stuff before the launch date? How would that make sense? It would only make sense, of course, if they faked it and recorded it before it even happened, then put it out. I mean, it's quite comical. So the 16th they launched, the 24th they came back, but they recorded re-entry on the 11th of July. Good old NASA, right? Yeah. I mean, I would imagine they would have something that would, oh, it was because of this or because of that, but it's comical. It's nowhere near the date. Nowhere near it, man. So launched on the 16th, back on the 24th, splashdown on the 24th, splashdown re-entry date of the video, 11th of July. I mean, that is NASA all over. Let's face it. Let's face it. Never a straight answer in particular. Never a straight answer. Where do I want to take you now? I want to share so people can have a look at the Flickr Apollo photos. There is I think all of NASA's photos are there. So if I put it in the chat, hopefully we don't get it removed, which can usually happen. So yeah, recorded then. Test, yeah. So where's the real thing then? Where's the real footage? If it's the test footage, why are they using footage from the 11th of July before it? And how could they film re-entry on the 11th of July? I mean, it would be impossible, right? Unless they had some sort of weird time machine. It would be impossible. So quite comical. But expect nothing less from NASA. They're the worst at deception, man. They are deception. Lock, stock, and barrel. They are deception. No two ways about it. There's also... Let me see if I can share. I'll share the interview of Neil Armstrong. It's like 4 hours long. I had to watch it over about a week because it was like, fucking hell. And it was recorded a week after 9/11 as well, which was, yeah, noteworthy at least. So I'll put it in the chat. We might listen to some of it. We'll listen to a wee bit of it and you'll get an idea. And then we might look at some other photos and then we'll call it a night at about maybe 2.5 hours. So we're 2.8 hours in, which is longer than planned, but hey, what can you do, right? What can you do? So let me see if I can get it working. Remove from the studio. Present. Na 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 na. I was hoping as well tonight to watch the movie The Right Stuff, which is kind of focused on the Gemini programs. But it's a long film as well. I think over 3 hours. But it's one that seemingly is most like what it was like at the time. So yeah, let me know if you've seen it. But let me quickly make sure we've got audio full to the max. Would it be that one? Anybody know? Yeah. Ah, there's Neil. That's him on the moon. That's him coming back from the moon. Buck Rogers, right? I've seen clips from the movie The Right Stuff, and they're saying, we're Buck Rogers! They want Buck Rogers, and that's who we are. Yeah, the fictional character, Buck Rogers. Who does not go into space. But you do, right? Sure. Why not? It is 2024 after all, we think. So yeah, I'm not going to play it a lot because it would be painful. It's painful, man. Over about a week I had to listen to it in bits here and there. And obviously I don't want to miss bits. So there was a couple of nights ago I put it on and I fell asleep listening to it. So do you know how people sometimes when they can't get to sleep, they'll put on the rain or sounds of the forest, or I don't know, fucking sounds of the jungle. Not drum and bass jungle, but snakes and I don't know, orangutans and rain and wind and what have you. And seemingly it can put you to sleep, right? I mean, yeah, maybe it does. Hey, maybe that, if that's what can put you to sleep, fair enough. But if that doesn't work, 4 hours of Neil Armstrong will send you insane. Been there, done that, right? It definitely, I think on 2 occasions, I've tried to catch the whole lot towards the end, and I fell asleep. And had to go back and suffer it again. So if I had to suffer it, you're going to have to suffer a part of it at least. Don't worry, you won't have to get the whole lot. But yeah, he definitely says things that are raise an eyebrow. Certainly raise an eyebrow. In particular, some of the stuff I had mentioned previously. So what I'll do is I'll play it. We'll play a maybe 10 minutes or so. Then we'll summarize to an extent, right? So here we go.
With one stick. This particular flight you mentioned too, we went to somewhat above 200,000 feet, well outside the atmosphere, so that we were completely flying on reaction controls up there. Aerodynamic controls were completely ineffective. It's like flying in a vacuum. And then we had a system limit built into the flight control system that would automatically prevent you from exceeding 5 Gs. If you hit 5 Gs, it would automatically put controls into to hold it below 5 Gs. And one of the things I wanted to do was demonstrate that part of the system worked. It had never been yet demonstrated in flight. It was my responsibility to do that. And we tried this many times in the simulator without any difficulty. But when we really did it in flight, I couldn't get the G limiter to work. I could kick in. So I was fiddling around with it, but to work. In the process, I got the nose up above the horizon. And we'd done this in the simulator. We never had any problem with it. But I found when I did it in real flight, what I was actually skipping outside the atmosphere again, where I had no aerodynamic controls. That was not a particular problem because I still had reaction controls to use. But what I couldn't do is get back down in the atmosphere. I had no ability I pulled over and pulled down and tried to pull out of the atmosphere, but it wasn't going down because there was no air to bite into. So I just had to wait until I got back in with enough air to have aerodynamic control and some lift on the wings, and immediately started making a turn back. But by that time, I'd gone well south of Edwards, and it wasn't clear at the time I made the turn whether I would be able to get back to Edwards. That wasn't a great concern to me because there are other dry lakes available there that I wouldn't want to go into another one, but I certainly would if I needed to. But when we got back, I could see that we were going to make it back to Edwards, and so I landed without incident on the south part of the lake.
Did you have to glide in at that point?
You always do.
Always did.
Yeah, there's no power on the aircraft, so you're always a glider after the rocket burns out. The rocket only lasted a minute and a half.
Did that kind of, any of these difficulties you had at Edwards later with Dave Scott, Gemini, did any of these experiences teach you kind of grace under pressure, or when you had the later problems with Mr. Scott and Gemini, how does these things?
Well, I always felt that the risks that we had in the space side of the program were probably less than we were back in flying at Edwards, or the general flight test community. The reason is that when we were out exploring the frontiers, we were out at the edges of the flight envelope all the time, testing limits, and our knowledge base was probably not as good as it was in the space program. We had less technical insurance, less minds looking, less backup programs, less other analysis going on. So that isn't to say that we didn't expect risks in the space program. We certainly expected they would be there, would guarantee that they would be there. But we felt pretty comfortable because we had so much technical backup and we didn't go nearly close to the limits as much as we did back in the old flight test days. So,
Have you ever read like commenting on it, Tom Wolfe's The Right Stuff? Do you feel it's captured the climate around Edwards in any way, shape, or form, or is it exaggerated?
I haven't read the book critically. I'm not sure I've read it all. I read a bit. I did see the movie. It was very good filmmaking, but terrible history. The wrong people working on the wrong projects at the wrong times, and it just bear no resemblance whatever to what was actually going on.
And to live out around Edwards at that time, you live right near the base.
I lived about an hour drive away south. Nobody lived close. A half hour is about as close as you could live. Big base.
Do you miss, at this point in your life, when you're telling all these stories to us, do you miss the opportunity of flying in that kind of way that, on a regular basis, like you were doing back then? Does it get, sometimes you almost get nostalgic for those days at all?
That was a very exciting job, and very excellent flying, very challenging goals. I think it was, certainly one of the memorable parts of my life.
Like when you flew in today, do you ever sit on the airplane and think, God, I wish I could pilot this? I got the itch. Like I feel like I wish I could just sit in the.
I'm still a legal pilot, and I still enjoy it as much as I always did.
You guys want to take a quick break for a few minutes?
Sure.
And we were out at Edwards, and I just wondered if you could comment on the Air Force's Dyna-Soar program, and how did you decide upon the Douglas F-5D-1 Skylancer as a suitable demonstrator for parts of the Dyna-Soar flight profile? And did you really develop any procedures based on flying this aircraft?
Yeah, I did. The Dyna-Soar program, of course, was first intended to be a high hypersonic but non-orbital vehicle, and predominantly a research vehicle. It was originally scheduled to be launched on the Titan I. Later became obvious the Titan II might be available and be a better choice, and that gave increased performance, but still not orbital. Then when the Titan III was introduced, or looked like it was going to be introduced, with additional rocket engines strapped on the side of the liquid, solids strapped on the side of the liquids, why it might be an orbital vehicle, and if it would be orbital, why it could be an operational craft. And the Air Force savored the idea of having an operational spacecraft and having their own space program, manned space program, separate from NASA. And so the project grew and grew. Eventually was not continued. It was canceled. perhaps because it grew too much. The launch, unlike the Mercury and Gemini and so on, was a winged vehicle on top, and there was a question as what kind of abort techniques would be practical to try to use in case there was a problem with the launch vehicle, a fire, say, in the launch vehicle. And it was determined to put rather than pull a rocket to flying speed from which it could make a landing, but it wasn't known at that time what might be practical and how much thrust would be needed and how much performance would be needed. And we had the F-5 SOAR for similar flight conditions, and devised a way of flying the aircraft to the point at which the pusher escape rocket would burn out. So you would start with the identical flight conditions that the Dyna-Soar would find itself after on a rocket abort from the launch pad. So then, establishing that initial condition, you only had to work out a way to find your way to the runway and make a successful landing, and would allow us to launch from the pad at Cape Canaveral and make a landing on the skid strip. Not the shuttle landing strip, but the old skid strip. And we practiced that. And I believe that Bill Dana and Noel Thompson both continued after I transferred from Edwards to Houston and continued that program. And there was a NASA report written about the technique. It was practical. Not that I wouldn't like to have to really do it in a real Dyna-Soar. But
what other responsibilities did you have at the High Speed Flight Center other than being a test pilot? Did they make? Was that the other?
Our principal responsibility was engineering work. We did not do a lot of flying. It was program development, devising simulations, looking at the problems of flight, and trying to figure out ways we could test those things and devise solutions to those problems. And it was a wonderful time period, and it was very satisfying work, particularly when you found a solution that would work.
Or did you know about the first call for astronauts that went out to military test pilots? And I was wondering what your
Now, look at that for a simulator. Top of the range simulation going on there, right? It looks like something you would get in at the fun fair. 1960s fun fair. Yay! Fighter pilot simulation. So you can tell that Armstrong was your average Joe, proper civilian, right? Who liked the dodgems at the fun fair. And hey, that'll give you an idea of the interview, which I must warn you, it's about 4 hours long. Longer, just over 4 hours. So I'll put it in the chat. I'll share we'll have a quick look at the Flickr. Why stop? And let's see if it's gonna work. Yeah. So yeah, NASA have dumped basically all their photos onto Flickr. I'm sure everybody knows of this website. Quite common. Been about for ages, pages. And I think all of their programs, even up to today, they've got all the photos and albums of the Apollo missions from the studio, right? Someone said, I noticed a comment, did they not film it at a Hollywood studio? Well, I can't rule that out, but if you go by the book Moon Man and the information given to Bart Sibrel by the Deathbed Confession, it wasn't in a movie studio. It was in Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, in a hangar. Well, two hangars, they joined together and filled it with sand and concrete powder and set it up to look like the moon, which is where seemingly that guy killed a guy. That guy killed a guy. The security dude killed someone. I think one of his friends, who was, going by the sounds of it, his friend was going to tell people, oh, by the way, they're recording the moon landing at the moment. They've not went yet. Probably on the 11th of July. So that was his confession, but in that confession, he said it was at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, and he had 15 names on a list, and they were the only people, at least on that list, who could enter. One of them being a filmmaker called Robert Niger. Definitely arrested now, right? So there wasn't any. Stanley Kubrick's not on the list, although maybe there was two locations. Maybe there was two locations for recording. I don't think that could be ruled out. But going by the book Moon Man and the Deathbed Confession, it's Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, previously called, let me get it right, Clovis Air Force Base, which is in a location that's quite interesting. A lot of the sort of geography roundabout looks a wee bit like what they could maybe call the moon layout, rocky sort of desert, if you like. Maybe where they film the Mars stuff at the moment. Possibly, I wouldn't rule that out. I have looked at it maybe about a year ago on Google Earth and stuff like that, but it's been a while since I've checked on it. So maybe you want to check it out. Cannon Air Force Base. And when you look at the military... What is my cat doing? What an out. Typical. Right, on you go. Beat it. When you look at the military history of Cannon Air Force Base, it's quite interesting. And NASA were tied in with it even round about the time. So it may well be the case. The guy in the confession could be right. And seemingly going by what Bart said, Nixon did visit the base as well, round about the time, but seemingly they scrubbed it. They scrubbed the information. So the base used to have a page that said, "Yay, Nixon came to visit," but then they decided, nah, actually, we're going to take that away. So if you're good at digging up deleted web pages, you might find it. It's called Cannon Air Force Base, New Mexico, in Clovis, New Mexico. Easy to find, easy to spot, not hard to hide. And the best thing to do would be to order Bart's book, Moon Man, and give it a read. It'll join a lot of dots, put it that way. Or you could go to Bart's channel and get quite a lot of information there, particularly from the deathbed confession. Quite staggering, mind-blowing shit, man. It doesn't necessarily nail it or, pardon the pun, put it in concrete, but it adds a lot of weight to it. The fact they filmed it. And the 15 names that are there are quite interesting. So they're worth checking out. We might do a stream on the names on the list. Does anybody know the name of this guy? You probably can see it. And this is how we get to the moon. How did you get to the moon? Easy. Chalk in a blackboard. Boom. There you go. We go around this way, around that way, wee, back again. Then voila, Bob's your uncle, right? No issues whatsoever. No problem. Quite incredible when you look at Apollo 11, how there was no issues whatsoever. Everything got done perfectly. So perfect, man. And there was like, up until that point, nothing was perfect. Everything beyond that point as well, nothing went perfectly. But for the big main show, the big screening, perfect. Flawless. Not an issue. Of course, they had to kind of pretend there was an issue when when they seemingly landed on the moon. It was a bit like, that was close, right? We nearly landed in a big giant crater. But Armstrong kept his cool and managed to land it without any issues whatsoever. Quite incredible. Almost, dare I say, unbelievable. But there you go. Why would NASA lie? How could that many people lie? That's what you always get. Even today, I still get that from... I think there was a comment on Facebook, and someone was saying, look, what was it they said again? It would have been easier. No, it would have been harder to fake it than it would have been to go. And that many people couldn't lie. I mean, that really did crack me up, that. Honestly. It would have been harder to fake it. Right. Sure. These people have got so much to learn, man. Especially when it comes to entities like NASA. How these entities operate. All you need to do is think about the saying from James Bond, like, you know if you need to know. Everything is on a need-to-know basis. Otherwise, guess what? You don't fucking know. Compartmentalization. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, a small amount of people know. Below that, nobody knows. And everybody plays their part, and it all goes smoothly. Not an issue. No problem. But it sure did crack me up when the guy said it would have been harder. It would have been harder to fake it. I mean, come on. Comical, right? Absolutely comical. So this is one of the landers they tested. Probably in the in the hangar at the Air Force Base. I mean, it looks nothing like the real one though, right? I mean, this looks like it would be more fit for the moon than the actual one that we got to see on seemingly the moon. I mean, it's comical. And it's not even like they flew it around in a hangar. It's fucking attached to a crane. It's on a wire, man. Probably a good place to film it, actually. Maybe that is in the Clovis Air Force Base. Yeah, quite comical. It looks a bit more like a spaceship. This one. And what's with all these lasers at the top? They're having a rave. Some sort of night show going on. It's like fit for a Hollywood studio. What's the crack with that? Interesting. Or is it lasers because it's a weird put together image? I don't know. Maybe they're up here recording some of it. Getting ready for the big day. Yeah. I can sit and go through these. I've done it quite a few times. And it's quite funny. If you look here, they look like they're handcuffed together. They're in prison, right? Of course, Collins with a hand in the pocket. The hidden hand. Giving the game away. What happened there? Oh, there we go. And even this fake model at the back looks a bit better than the original. You can't see so much sellotape or duct tape on it. Look how happy they are as well. Happy as Larry. Not a care in the world. Nothing to worry about. But then it all changed after the big show. The smile turned to a very sad face in the bottom of a brown bottle for Buzz Aldrin. Now, I have said it before, but interesting fact here. Do we know who designed the Apollo 11 logo? I'll catch you later, Jerry. Take it easy. He'll be away to work. He works very hard. We'll go with that. But good to see you. And I subbed. I don't know. I might have to sub on this channel as well. But you know, it was something that I only found out quite recent. Is the Apollo 11 crest was designed by Michael Collins. He was the one that designed it. And you know, Collins, I think, and I need to do a bit more research on it, but there's a Masonic Illuminati family, and it is the Collins family. And I think Michael Collins is part of that, or was part of them. And I think Collins might have even been a kind of handler. Hence why he basically took a back seat to much of it. He was there as the handler, keeping an eye on Buzz and Neil. And I've good gut feeling about that. And the more I look at it, the more I looked at his family, the more it was like, yeah, that might just be the case, actually. Because the first thing that pointed me to it was Collins always seemed to get an easy deal. He sat back and let the other two take the heat. And the other two quite willingly took the heat. And I do tend to wonder, why were these astronauts, were they there through choice, or were they there because they didn't have a choice? If you know what I mean. And they paraded them like circus monkeys. And if it was me, I'd have told them where to go. I'd have been, nah, you can stick that. I'm not doing it. I'm not being paraded like a circus freak, what, for 40 days constant? Being flown around here, there, and everywhere. Like some kind of circus act. For what benefit? But every time I seen them, I got the impression that they didn't want to be there. So I couldn't help but wonder, okay, they clearly never wanted to be there, but they had no choice. And with that in mind, I can only think, well, what sort of dirt did they have on Buzz and Armstrong? Maybe not so much Collins, but the two who walked on the moon, seemingly. Could it be that they were forced into it, or they would have been exposed for being the people that they possibly were? And you know the guy John Glenn, first American in space? Well, he got exposed by the pilot, by Epstein's pilot. John Glenn was a regular on the, what is it called, Latoya Express. So that might give you an idea as to where I was kind of going with that. Did these astronauts want to be there, or was it the case that they had to be there? They were told to be there. Otherwise, they would have been outed for the people they are. Hence why they went through all the humiliation and just being treated like a circus act. I mean, I can't rule it out. I've got nothing concrete on it. But the fact that Glenn was a regular on the flight, that adds a bit more weight to it. And it's one that I'm not gonna let it go. I'll be looking into it a lot more. And the fact that Collins was the one who designed the logo says that Collins was a bit, how could I put it, higher up than Buzz and Neil. Neil, the average Joe, the average civilian who was in the Korean War. I mean, it's comical, right? If you picked some guy off the street, some random dude, and you said, oh, was Neil Armstrong a civilian? Oh, yeah, he was a civilian. No, he wasn't a civilian. He was military personnel. Here's him hard at work. And look at the guys behind him laughing like it's just a big joke. That like Duper's delight at the back. Oh, we better not zoom in there. just a comedy show, right? I mean, that's what it would have been like, a complete comedy show. Why does it keep doing that? Oh, they've got him attached to the line in case he floats away. But yeah, one big laugh, basically. How we laughed, right? Talk about mocking. Why is it not working? There we go. So if you want... Oh, there's some practicing getting I don't know, a battery. You're doing great, Neil. Keep it up. And here's him getting ready. All kitted out. Got his camera. Got the tinfoil. And I mean, even that fucking model looks better. Why do all the fake models look better than the actual model, which has got like bits hanging out and wires and shit sticking out everywhere? None of it is like sealed off or hidden from or even protected from the dangers of space flight like you would expect it to be. I mean, it's a joke, right? So we've went a wee bit longer than planned. We've went longer than previously thought, right? We'll go with that. But before I go, I will share the stream is up, and on Saturday night, I think quite early. I'll check. So UK time, well, 9 o'clock on Saturday night. I'll get the link and I'll share to give you an idea of where to be. And I will post it in my community tab if YouTube will let me do it. If they'll let me do it, right? Maybe they won't let me. Maybe they'll switch off comments, which is, yeah, sure, that'll teach them, right? So can I share? This will give you an idea. So this is where I'm gonna be on Saturday, and I'll put the link in the chat. Hoping it's the right link. And I think we dropped out. Are we back again? Funny that, right? Quite funny. We seem to be experiencing Wi-Fi issues. Must be the weather. I don't know. I think we're okay now. Typical. Oh, why is that moved? I almost took it away. Having Wi-Fi? We're having Wi-Fi issues. Typical right at the end as well. We get kicked about by the Wi-Fi, which is the Wi-Fi that I've got is like top range, state of the art, super duper magical fucking triple fiber optic broadband. Yet I'm not even far away from the router. Well, I mean, it is downstairs, but BT claim that, I mean, you can get it in the garden. You would seemingly get it on the roof of your house. I don't know why that would have to be the case, but it's meant to be one of the best, but I don't think it will be. Well, I don't think it is, going by its performance. I guess the BT will try and say, well, what you need is 5G, right? You need to step up to 5G. I think I draw the line at fiber optic broadband, which is, it was installed when I moved in. And even to the point where I looked at getting rid of the broadband and just having the old broadband that I had before that. But the cost of taking it out, it was up to about 10 grand to get it removed. I was like, what the? I mean, fucking hell. I'm a student, man. So, I mean, basically the answer was no. You either live with it or move out, basically. Because it was a brand new house that we moved into. And it had built in. It had the state-of-the-art broadband built in, so there wasn't a choice, basically. And you could see that's the way it's going. I mean, houses, a couple of years from now, they'll be building in 5G. You'll be moving into a new house and it'll simply be there. The smart meter, it'll be there. You won't have a choice. And that's when they narrow it down phase by phase, where they strip away the old meters. But it's worse than that. Because what the plan is, and you can look it up, the plan is to switch off completely the old meters they've got. So the only meters that will be connected will be the smart meter. And if you might have noticed in the UK, they're taking away all the pylons and they're replacing them with underground smart cabling. It's happening. I mean, it's all happening all over here, so I'm assuming it's right across the UK. They're doing away with the pylons completely. So what they do is they funnel it down to where you've not got a choice. You either have it in your house or you move out into the woods or live in a caravan. Probably still surrounded by it. I mean, that's what they do. They sort of bottleneck it down to not having a choice. So you might think that you can keep your meter. You probably could, but it won't be connected. I can't remember what date exactly they're talking about beginning to switch them off. But I don't think it's far away from now. So that's how they operate. Remember, this is their game. It's not ours. They create the world that we live in. The people have not got the backbone to change it. We've seen that. History's proved. People basically can't stand up for themselves. They simply don't, or they would have by now, especially given what happened in 2020. Everyone just gets on with their own life and their own wee bubble and does fuck all about it, basically. And I think when you look at the guy Snowden, he was kind of, in my own view, he kind of got put out to test the waters. And they've basically told you everything that they do. And what did people do? Nothing. They never done anything. And the guy from the CIA, I can't remember his name, but he had said, look, we'll know when we've basically brainwashed the people. And I think once Snowden came out and told you pretty much the whole lot, they knew. They knew all right. And people won't like to hear that. they won't like to hear it. But unfortunately, it's the truth. People have done nothing about it. And it is frustrating. It frustrates me. And you know, the famous saying goes, the truth will piss everyone off. No matter who you are. No matter what you know. It will piss you off big time. And it does. So this is where I'll be on Saturday. And make sure you get subscribed. Quite a lot of subs. So you'll have to be over to check it out. Get subscribed. Give me support, right? What are we going to be covering? A few different topics, predictive programming. Like I said, some of the videos that I've done recently. The convid we'll have to watch what we're saying. We're going to have to watch what we're saying there, right? AI, Trump, Bin Laden, 9/11, probably YouTube itself. I better like it. So I will be expecting to see a few folk there, right? It's not often that I get a chance to spread my wings and get invited on. So it's a pleasure. It'll be an honor. He's a great guy. He does great streams as well. So highly recommend people check it out. So we're just about on the 3 hour mark, which is, yeah, typical, right? I can't even go an hour without it being 3 hours, but hey, you know the score. So what I'll do is I'll find the tune, and I will be looking out for folk on Saturday if I can manage that. What did I play before? I want to play one I've not played. I could play that. Could I? There's one. Ah, yeah, there it goes there. I want to play that because it's got a clip from Neil saying, "Oh yeah, we don't control the weather, but we can look forward to doing that tomorrow." Shock horror. So it's been a pleasure. What are we on? 1:15, and I need to walk the dog. So another late night of walking the dog. But hey, I enjoy it. It's quiet, peaceful. Hoping it's quite clear again. It was clear last night when I took him out. And it was, did I not put the link? I clocked, I don't know if you could call it a UFO, but I mean, I'm always looking up in the sky to the point where I get a sore neck when I get back. I'm like, neck's killing me. So I had looked up and I thought, there's something there flying through the sky, like this weird orb. And I thought I'd get my binoculars that were in my bag. And I got them out and then it was gone. I couldn't find it anymore. I was like, you bugger. So typical, right? Take your eyes off it for 1 second and it was just gone. But I noticed these wee orbs. I don't know what they are. They're like drones, man. They're like, I don't know, weird drones that kind of fly about the sky. Like something out of They Live, but a wee bit higher up. And yeah, I think I might invest in some sort of GoPro and maybe hopefully capture some of it. So that could be something for the future. So there's the link. It should be there in the chat. Oh, there's Linda. Good to see you, Linda. Cool too is there. I think we're getting Wi-Fi issues again. So I'm definitely going to wrap it up. So yeah, make sure you check it out Saturday night, 9 o'clock, or whenever you can. On Wednesday. We're definitely pretty much getting kicked off now. Internet is not hard. So yeah, look out for it. Watch it when you can. Make sure you get subscribed. And if I don't see you through the week, I'll probably see you through the window, right? So remember what I say. Never live in fear, not for one split second. Don't do it. And like I always say, no matter what, no matter where, do not comply. And that is about it.
Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.
know about the All-Star game? Yes. Well, oh, you knew that too? You really heard that, the rain. The rain. Right. Well, we haven't learned to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's challenge. Right. We haven't learned to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's challenge. Right. Tomorrow's challenge. Right.